Welcome back, YouTubers, to another Smackdown review with me, Mr. Parky, and on behalf of the British Fist. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about Smackdown and some of the stuff that happened on there. I'm going to talk about Brock Lesnar's return on Raw and Daniel Bryan joining the Wyatt family. So if you have any thoughts on any of those three things, please let me know down in the comment section below. I think the first thing I want to do on this video is I want to get the main angle out of the way of the show, because this took up two segments, and to be quite honest with you, I didn't really care all that much for the way the show opened and main evented. You know, we opened up with the Shield, basically saying, Dean Ambrose saying they're not breaking from within, which is a sure sign they are. I believe at the Royal Rumble they'll probably maybe do a little bit more to break these guys up. And then we had the Shield versus the Usos with Dean Ambrose on commentary. You know, I'm sitting there thinking, how many times are we going to see these two teams face off? It's got to the point where I've seen these guys face off so much now, or it seems to be, that I just have no interest in this match, so I just skipped it. I pretty much skipped it until the end where the Shield attacked the Usos post-match, and I pretty much noted all that was going to happen down before it actually happened, because CM Punk came out and made the save, and then during the break, Vic Guerrero made a six-man tag main event. As for that six-man tag main event, again, the Shield versus CM Punk and Usos, we seem to see this combination way too much lately. I mean, we've had CM Punk facing, you know, each individual member of the Shield. We've had CM Punk facing them 3-on-1, the Usos facing the Shield, and the CM Punk versus the Usos and the Shield has happened so many times now. It's just another combination we've seen all too many times, and I just wish WWE would, you know, try and vary things a little bit, rather than just, you know, having the same people going after the, you know, all the time, especially going into the Royal Rumble. Just, you know, move things about a little bit sometimes so things feel a bit different. And as for this main event match, it was a decent match. I mean, I actually did take the time out to watch this match, but they're trying to tease some tension between Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, like they did in the opening promo segment. And I guess it's kind of working. There was little subtle hints and teases there. We all know that they're planning some kind of babyface turn for Roman Reigns at some point down the line, but they're doing a good job, in my opinion, in teasing it and not really doing too much with it, but sort of putting little hints there, little teasers there with this whole Ambrose and Reigns thing and, you know, Rollins, etc. So they're doing that pretty well right now. I'm just getting a little bit tired of the Shield and lately the Usos being involved in the same things all the time. Let's just try and freshen things up a little bit, especially going into the road to WrestleMania. So on main event this week, they had a Miz TV segment where Brodus Clay pretty much talked shit about Tensai and they got into it, etc. This has been a storyline that has been playing out on Raw and Smackdown for quite a lot of time for this last sort of month or two. So I don't understand why they have this big Miz TV segment, which is going to be like the fire to this feud, so to seem. Why they're having it on main event when really it should be on Raw and Smackdown where these storylines have been cultivating. If you want to make Brodus Clay feel like a main event player, having a main event is not really the way you're doing that, is it? Instead of that, we got Fandango versus R-Truth, which I didn't really care all that much about. And all I can think about when I see Fandango is just another WWE character. They brought in really strongly. I was behind. And then really from that point, you can only ever go one direction. And that was down. And that's exactly where the segment went, in my opinion. Just went down. You know, with the road to WrestleMania coming up, it's really no surprise that WWE is piling on the star power right now. We've got an announced return for Batista on Raw. I believe it's the 20th edition of Raw, I believe it is. And then we got the return on Raw of Brock Lesnar on the final Raw of the year. And he pretty much came out, talked about how he wanted to go after the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, which will probably happen at Elimination Chamber. I'm hearing there's going to be like an all-star Elimination Chamber like Cena, Orton, Punk, Bryan, Lesnar, and Batista or something like that. I don't really know. But Brock Lesnar pretty much returned on Raw. We had Mark Henry coming out, and he pretty much kicked the shit out of Mark Henry, along with a girly scream or two on the way, as he usually does. But it looks like they're bringing him back to go after the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, maybe at Elimination Chamber, maybe at WrestleMania. We don't really know. But the main thing is they brought back Brock Lesnar, who is obviously a big star and some kind of draw for the company, and he's going to be in some kind of big spot going into WrestleMania. What they're going to do with him at WrestleMania is, you know, there to be seen. I think a rematch with him and CM Punk would be a good idea, but they may have different plans for him. They was planning on Lesnar versus Undertaker. You know, who really knows? As for the main event of Royal Rumble this year, it's going to be the Rumble, obviously, but Orton and Cena was announced for the Rumble, and all I could think of was, yay? Orton versus Cena in a singles match, which their first match was a TLC match, which we didn't really care about in the first place, and they're having a rematch at Royal Rumble. I guess this makes sense. You know, Cena does deserve the rematch, gets the rematch clause, etc. Hope this will be the last time these two face off. And 2 is enough for me, really is. Big E Langston faced Curtis Axel on this week's edition of SmackDown. Big E Langston wins quickly. That is all that matters. Now, can we please get Big E Langston, a guy who can, probably main event for the company down the line, in my opinion. Can we get him onto better things, please? Just Curtis Axel, no. Might as well send him back down to NXT. The guy is boring as hell. Another character that came in really strongly for WWE and then could only go downhill, even with the help of Paul Heyman. Just Big E Langston needs bigger feuds. I'm very much looking forward to him feuding with Mark Henry, if that does actually happen. Let's just find some more legitimate contenders to Big E Langston, because Curtis Axel isn't that. He's already beaten Curtis Axel once for the title, once in a rematch. Now he's beating him again in 5 minutes. It's obvious who's going to win this. Let's get him a better feud, please. In our main event of the evening, which ironically is the main segment on this review, we have Cody Rhodes and Goldust versus the Wyatt family for the Tag Team Championships. And I would have thought WWE wanted to hype this matchup a little bit more than they did. I mean, they announced it at the start of the evening and once or twice throughout the night, but I really thought they would announce this ahead of time, maybe on Raw or last week's SmackDown. Just hype it up a little bit. I mean, you've got a hot Tag Team Champions versus a hot heel faction. And rather than have it happen randomly on a TV show in the hour main event, have it be the main event, or at least hype up to it a little bit more than they did. That's all I'm going to say. I just would have thought a match like this would have been made to feel a little bit more important than how it did on this show. But as for the match itself, it was a pretty solid match, as you'd expect between these two. Cody Rhodes took a hell of a punishment during this match, but in my opinion, the heat segment maybe dragged on just a tad. Towards the end, I was just like, can we get to the hot tag, please? Can we get to the hot tag? And in the end, Goldust tags himself in and gets the roll-up pin on the Wyatt family. So they keep their championships. I don't think there was really any doubt there that Cody Rhodes and Goldust were going to keep their tag team championships. But the big thing about this segment was the fact that Bray Wyatt or Daniel Bryan weren't out there for this segment. And that brings me on to what I'm going to talk about next. And that is what happened on Raw, when Daniel Bryan went through the gauntlet and couldn't come up and win against the Wyatt family, or Bray Wyatt in particular. So instead of fighting them, he decided to join them. Daniel Bryan ended up joining the Wyatt family and the end of Raw. And I've heard what a lot of people have to say about Daniel Bryan and joining the Wyatt family. Some think it's stupid, some think it's a good thing and can make compelling TV. And I guess my whole thing is, while it was shocking and maybe added another layer to this storyline which could go somewhere, I do have to say that I really don't understand why they had made their most over babyface join a heel faction, therefore kind of confusing people in they want to feel about Daniel Bryan. It did seem a little bit odd, in my opinion. And the reasoning behind this, if you can't beat them, join them. I don't know too much about that. I don't know why an over babyface like Daniel Bryan. I know he's been screwed by the corporation and everything, but the corporation hasn't really had anything to do with this Wyatt family storyline. It's just that there are just too many numbers there for Daniel Bryan to overcome. So I don't understand. Usually you'd build up to the babyface getting their comeuppance, but maybe this is another way of getting Bray Wyatt over. And I guess this angle in itself, taking a guy like Daniel Bryan, who's incredibly popular right now, and having succumbed to the Wyatt family, is definitely putting over the Wyatt family as a force to be reckoned with. And if the rumours are correct, which they most probably aren't because this is the dirt sheets we're talking about, but if the rumours are correct that WWE want Bray Wyatt to main event WrestleMania with John Cena, which I highly doubt will happen at WrestleMania 30, it'll probably be Batista versus Brock Lesnar or something like that, I don't know. But if those rumours are true, you're going to have to put over the Wyatt family as much as possible between now and WrestleMania in order to make them a viable contender to John Cena. That's all I'll say about that. But as for my thoughts on Daniel Bryan joining the Wyatt family, I'll give it a chance for now, although usually WWE make me pay when I say I'll give it a chance now and see what happens with it. But we'll see where it goes. I mean, it is kind of good, compelling TV in my opinion, even if I don't agree with the fact that Daniel Bryan should be joining a heel faction, but there we go. Also, it'll be interesting now to see what this will do for Daniel Bryan's chances of winning the Royal Rumble. Will he use the Wyatt family to win the Royal Rumble or something like that? I don't know. This brings me on to my next thing. I know it's only the 3rd of January and there's still 3 or 4 weeks to go to the Royal Rumble, but I haven't heard anyone talk about the Rumble. I haven't heard anyone come out and say, I am going to enter the Royal Rumble and I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. The kind of stuff you would expect a lot of guys to be focused on right now. I mean, the Royal Rumble is your chance to be in the main event of WrestleMania and face the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. But I've heard no one really talk about it, not even in passing. Maybe I'm just missing things and I'm not watching Raw. So, but on SmackDown, from what I've seen, I haven't heard anyone mention the Royal Rumble yet, and it's a little bit disappointing as this is supposed to be some kind of big deal. So I hope from next week onwards on Raw and SmackDown, we have some people coming out, maybe at the return of Sheamus or something like that, saying, I'm going to go after the Royal Rumble and I'm going to face the WWE World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania and beat them in the main event. It's that simple. I'm just a bit disappointed I haven't really heard anyone say it yet, but there we go. If you have any thoughts and opinions on this week's edition of SmackDown, and more importantly, Daniel Bryan joining the Wyatt family, which is going to be the headline of this fucking video, damn it, then please let me know in the comment section below. As for my thoughts on SmackDown, let's have a look. What do we have here? We had a main angle, which I wasn't really too fussed about. A pretty decent tag team match. I didn't even talk about the Divas segment. The rest of it was just kind of meh, really. So it was another SmackDown. There wasn't really too many segments on this week's edition of SmackDown. Just there was more talking points from Raw than there was on SmackDown, of course. Even as I talked about all the segments on the show, I felt like I talked in more detail about the 2 segments that actually happened on Raw this week. But there we go. Let me know your thoughts on SmackDown in the comment section below and all the other topics I've talked about. Thank you very much for watching this video if you have, and a happy new year and goodbye.